Hey guys, by now everybody should have received your special delivery. It's in a bag that looks like this. So if you've got it, you can go ahead and open it. Our church, Rock Creek, just wanted to send you a special Valentine to let you guys know that our church loves you very much and we've missed you, and just wanted to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And now that you've had your special delivery from our church, is anybody able to guess what we're going to be talking about today? You got it. We're going to be talking about love. So does anybody know what this Sunday is? This Sunday, here's your hint, is February the 14th. Any guesses? All right, yes, everybody, this Sunday is February the 14th, and it is Valentine's Day. I'm sure that some of you guys have talked about it at school, and some of you guys may be talking about it at home. So Valentine's Day is a day that a lot of people celebrate love. If you've been to the stores, you've probably seen some of these things I'm going to show you. You've seen some of these little Valentines. You may be having a Valentine party at school where you've been either making your own or picking some out to give to all of your friends. You may have seen lots of these little candies that you do. All kinds of different special candies come out for Valentine's. You may have seen lots of chocolate, my favorite, peanut butter and chocolate together. You can't go wrong. Little fun stuffed animals to go along with Valentine's Day. What says love like a little stuffed bunny? Flowers. Seen those at stores. They have Valentine flowers. Lots of cookies, cupcakes, all kinds of things that people get from the stores to give somebody to tell them that they love them. And all of these things are super nice and fun. But when you think about all of these things, do these things really show what real love is all about? Do we only see real love one day out of the entire year? Is it just only on Valentine's Day? What about people who are allergic to flowers? Or people who are allergic to candy? Or very sadly, people who are allergic to chocolate. Very sad if you are allergic to chocolate. Or people who do not celebrate Valentine's Day. Do they just miss out on real love if those people are around? No, they don't. And here's why. Here's the good news. The Bible tells us exactly what real love is and what it's all about. So that's what we're going to talk about today, what real love is. Those Valentine's things that we do are fun and they're great and they are love, but the Bible talks about what real love is, and that's what we want to talk about today. When Jesus came to earth and lived, he died on the cross for each and every one of us, and when he did, that was showing true love to everyone. And while he lived on earth, he talked a lot about love. He talked about God's love for us, all people, and he also talked about how he wanted us to love each other. And a lot of things he talked about love were really different from what people had heard before. And some of the things that he told us were things that he still wants us to do today. They're not old and they're not out of date. They're ways that he still wants us to live today. So we're going to look at a couple of things. He told us in Matthew 5:44 to love our enemies. He told us in John 14:23 that if we love him, we will obey him. Just like when your parents ask you to do something, you show them that you love them when you obey them. He said in John 15:13 that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. And then Jesus did exactly that when he died on the cross for us. He said in Matthew 7:12, do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. And that is totally different than what we actually want to do. When somebody is ugly to us or is rude or hurts our feelings, the first thing that we want to do, our natural response, is to just lash out and hurt that person back, or to be mean to that person, or to run off and go and talk about that person. But Jesus tells us not to be that way. He tells us that what he wants us to do is to treat that person how we want to be treated. So if we want to be treated with kindness, then we're to treat that person with kindness, no matter how they treat us. So he wants us to treat others the way we want to be treated. Wow, that's something really different, but that's what he calls us to do. He also tells us in Matthew 22, verse 37, he says, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind." So he tells us that we are supposed to love God with everything that we've got. And it's not just supposed to be a checklist, something that we do. Yep, I got up this morning and I said a morning prayer. And then I read a verse out of the Bible. And then I did all my morning chores. And I've done everything right, check, check, check. And I'm going to bed and I can say I've done it. God says that we're supposed to love him with all our heart, in all of our soul, and all of our mind. So we're supposed to love God because we want to, and obey God because we want to, not because we're trying to do a checklist. And so real love, Jesus' love, the love he talks about, and the love that he shows us in the Bible, is so much more than what we see at the stores with what they're selling and what we see on TV. So much more than what we see on TV. And God wants us to love others the way that he loves us. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus started talking to the crowds that were following him, and he gave them a lot of things that he wanted them to know, and a lot of things he wanted us to know. And one of these things that he is talking about is about loving others. And he is telling us that when we have feelings about other people, it is just as important as our actions. And you guys know how when you're talking to somebody, you may not say something out loud about how you feel about somebody because you might have, you have good manners. Your mamas and daddies and guardians, they taught you that you don't just say something ugly to somebody just because you want to. You have good manners, but you may think something in your mind. Those things, I'm going to call those heart thoughts. You might think something on the inside, but you don't always let that come out. But Jesus tells us in this Matthew chapter 5, when he's talking to us, he says that if you hate someone, it is just as bad as murdering them or killing them. So I know that none of us have ever murdered someone, but to know that hating someone is just as bad as murdering them, that heart thought that we have about somebody is very serious to Jesus. So he tells us to be very careful with our heart thoughts towards other people, and all, because we cannot say that we love God and then treat another person with hate. That's not how God wants us to be. He wants us to be real, and he wants us to have his kind of real love for other people around us. So how do we show other people God's love? Does anybody know? All right. We demonstrate God's love by showing kindness to other people. And it isn't always easy, is it? Sometimes we're not happy with our brother or our sister. Sometimes we may not be happy with our teacher or a person at school. Sometimes it's hard to show kindness to other people. But remember, one of Jesus' instructions to us was to love our enemies. So how can we do that? We can pray and ask God to help us. And he will. God can help us to love our enemies because he has loved his. In Romans 5:8, it tells us, "But God demonstrated his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This means that while we were still God's enemies, while we were still choosing to not love God, He loved us first. He loved us anyway, and He sent Jesus to come and die in our place and be the sacrifice to bring us back into a relationship, a friendship with Him. And so He loved us even though we were His enemy. So if He can love us, He can also help us to love our enemy or to love someone who is not being kind to us. And we can ask Him for the help to do that, and He'll help us. So you guys, God's love is the best kind of love. God's love is real love, and Jesus' birth, His life, His death, and His resurrection from the dead, that shows us what real love looks like. So I want to encourage you this week to show real love to others, to show Jesus' kind of love to others. Find somebody in your house or somebody at your school, or maybe it's just some stranger that you see at the store. Maybe somebody can't reach something on a shelf, or maybe somebody needs help opening a door. Find some way this week to show Jesus' love to somebody else, and I encourage you to do that. Pray and ask God to give you an opportunity to show that love to someone. And you guys, I want to leave you with this Bible verse. Jesus said in John 13:35, "Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." So you guys, go out and know that you are loved and show that love to other people. I love you guys.